All right, here I am again, starting off the next topic. I am in my son's room today because everybody's watching TVs downstairs and football and NASCAR. I just got done with the workout, so I stink, but you can't tell that, so it'll be all right. All right, jeez, it's all right. I just had toys fall on me. You guys said to leave this stuff in, so I'm leaving it in. All right, today we're talking about reflex. This is anytime that you have had those moments where you move sort of without thinking about it. That's what a reflex is, and that's basically what this whole little diagram is saying here. I'm gonna try and put it in layman's terms. If you've ever had those moments where you know your mom, dad said, "Don't touch the iron, the hot iron," or the fire, and you just couldn't resist, like my son. Um, and you touch it anyway. And then you go to touch it, and then something in your body says, remove your finger, and you move it really fast. Wah! Okay? But what happens is there's actually a delay between when you remove your finger and when you feel the pain, there's actually about a 1 to 2 second delay, and then you'll move it and be like, ah, then it'll hurt. And that has to do with the fact that your spinal cord can actually get you to do some things, some reflexes, and so it doesn't take as long for the signal telling you to remove your finger from a very hazardous situation. The signal is faster than the signal gets to your brain to register the pain. Okay, so it doesn't take long for the signal to go from finger to spinal cord. It takes longer to go from finger all the way up to your brain, if that makes sense. Okay, that's why you'll feel a delay with the pain, because your spinal cord can actually get you to move faster. It's a way to make sure, I guess it's the way, what's the right word? It's the way nature has come up with for, hey, we have very little time. Our bodies don't do well with like fire. You can't, that second, 2 seconds extra that it would take perhaps to register the pain, that could be the difference between getting a pretty good burn or having the finger completely irreparable. Okay, so that's reflex. And if you've ever had the doctor with a little hammer on the knee thing when you go in to see the doctor, that's a big deal. Most of us, the reflex is automatic. There's nothing we can really do about it. They're checking for spinal injuries. Okay, if your leg doesn't respond, that's usually a sign that there's a problem with your spine. Okay, and something as far as your central nervous system, that they've got to check it out. So that's just one indicator. Again, I'm no doctor, but as far as I know, that's like a big check for them. Okay, all right, moving on. Now we are on the brain. Jeez, the brain. There it is. All right. The brain, boy. Okay, that is about the size of the brain. I like the one with the hands because it shows you how big it is, and it's kind of pinkish, I guess you could say, right when it comes out of a skull, right after it's someone has died, obviously. But that's about how big your brain is. All right, and here's a picture I think I put on here because I thought it would help you. It's a great list of all the parts of the brain, both sort of looking internally here on the left, and then getting a bilateral view here where they've cut the brain in half. And that way you start to get a feel for where is everything in the brain. And it can get kind of confusing, mostly because we tend to think two-dimensionally, and the parts in the brain are actually three-dimensional. And so sometimes you'll look at the cross section and think, oh, well, it's a very flat, narrow, part of the brain, and it's like not really. It doesn't really look like that. And so I have some three-dimensional pictures I've tried to put on here. But anyway, this is definitely a picture you want to learn. I don't want to go through it this way. This is sort of like a precursor to everything we're about to do. And so I'll move. Okay, I don't know if you can tell, but I just had to fix something that didn't make a lot of sense. All right, what we're on is the brain, and we're talking about the two hemispheres. There's two halves of the brain. They aren't actually blue and pink. Don't get carried away. It's just that way here in the picture so that you can see the difference. You can't tell usually with the brain when it's like out of a skull, and they usually the normal pictures they show because gravity pulls the brain in on itself, and so it's that these two halves are kind of pushed together, and you can't really tell that it's not one big helmet. Here you have the corpus callosum, sort of a cutout of the corpus callosum right there, as well as you see it here in a three-dimensional view, and then here's a bilateral view cut in half, and I have many more views. So I'm trying to show you it looks really different based on how you look at it in the brain. Don't worry, you're not going to have to label this. This is not a labeling type course. That's not what it's about. So don't get panicky about the labeling. I think it helps to know where things are and what they look like in order for you to remember what they do. You do need to know what the corpus callosum does. It is the big giant highway of information from the left brain to the right brain and back and forth. Without it, we would essentially have two separate brains, which we will get into some neat stuff that we see with people who have the corpus callosum cut in half, severed, okay? But for the most part, most of us really would not want that done. That is an extreme case and only done when nothing else that today's modern medicine has tried to fix a problem if it won't fix, okay? All right, so moving on. All right, the brain stem is the oldest part and the central core of the brain, beginning where the spinal cord swells as it enters the skull, responsible for automatic survival function. So here you can see, right here is the brain stem. In a three-dimensional view here, well, I guess it's not really a three-dimensional view, but anyway, you can see it's shown inside most of the brain. So if you look at it like this, here's the cerebral cortex. The brain stem is up inside of it. So from the outside, looking outside the brain, you can't see it, okay? But it is in there. It is the most primitive in that. We have the brain stem is a common part of most animal species brains. What they're lacking is the cerebral cortex, which is the other part that we have. But an alligator, definitely a cat, some other wild animals that you think of, they have a brain stem. But it basically just provides basic functions for survival. It is not, we don't do our thinking, with any abstract thinking with the brain stem. You're not, and that's why I got the picture of Homer there, no abstract thinking, okay? But if you're an alligator, and it's sitting there, if you think about an alligator, it's an ambush predator. It just sits just under the water waiting for some, naive deer or antelope or whatever comes up on the edge of a river, or a crocodile. And then they lunge out of the water and bite the animal and try to pull them into the water and drown them, okay? I don't think most of you would really think of an alligator sitting there and going, oh, geez, this is so boring. Oh, man, I've been here for days. There's nothing going on. They're not thinking like that. They don't have the capability. They're at a survival level. Sit here, wait, food will come. Just, spring out of water, kill it, good, move on. That's it. That's all they know, okay? All right, so that's your brain stem. And we'll break it down here with the thalamus, reticular formation, and the medulla here in a moment. Oh, like I said, here it is. All right, so the medulla is the base of the brain stem, okay? It controls heartbeat and breathing. So basically what happens is your spinal cord is here, okay? And then as it comes up and goes through the back of your neck, it swells. At the beginning of the swelling, right down here, is where you have your medulla. Okay, at the beginning of the brain stem. It's all connected. It controls heartbeat and breathing. Okay, we don't have to think about it. Thank goodness. Okay, I don't know about you, but I am a forgetful person, kind of absent-minded. And if I had to actually think about my breathing and think about my heartbeat, like beat heart, I probably would be dead. I would forget, like, oh darn, I forgot to breathe. I forgot to have my heartbeat, and it would be over quickly for me. So that is what our medulla takes care of. It is also known as the medulla oblongata. Okay, and if you ever saw Waterboy, that's why I put that little caption in there. That scene always makes me laugh. So if you haven't seen it yet, get the movie and watch it. Okay, then you have your reticular formation, which is a nerve network. It's inside the brainstem that plays an important role in controlling arousal, so the sleep-wake cycle, so it's what keeps you awake, makes you tired, and filters incoming stimuli to discriminate irrelevant background stimuli. Okay, so and that's right inside here. You can see right where it shows you right there. That's why I put that picture there. Okay, all right, and I'm going to finish this up for today.